We are recording. Welcome everyone to the session. We're going to do an overview of Georgia State and our programs, but before we do that, if you could just enter in the chat room what program you are interested in. So the Tier 1, the Masters, just the add-on, the Tier 2, the EDD, the PhD, what program are you interested in? So we'll use that a little bit to craft our conversation. So we'll do a little overview of the programs at Georgia State, and then we'll have time for Q&A. Got 3 Tier 1s. If you're just joining us, it'd be great if you could enter the program you're interested in the chat room.
So Dr. Sowers, you got the recording going?
It is, yes.
Great, thank you. EDD and add-on, Tier 1, PhD, EDD, Tier 1, add-on, Tier 1. So a good mixture.
Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to give a short overview of our programs at Georgia State, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. So if you can go to the next slide, Michelle. Many of you either have or will learn a little bit about the certification. So to be very, very brief, the Tier 1 is a certification that allows you to be an assistant principal or a district administrator who doesn't supervise principals. And then the Tier 2 is the licensure that allows you to be a principal or someone who supervises principals. Even a superintendent would be the Tier 2 licensure. So our Tier 2, I would imagine, is the program most of you are interested in. And when you listen to the different universities, there are some things where we have lots of similarities, and there are some things that set us apart. So the Tier 1 certification for us, some students need the full master's degree. So those students, it's a 6-semester program, and some students only need the add-on. So those would be students, if you already have a master's degree, you just want to get the add-on so you have that leadership certification. That program only takes 3 semesters. It's 18 credits. A big component of either of these programs is your clinical experience. So that means you're doing leadership type activities in your school, potentially schools other than your own school. Features that really make us unique is the fact that we have a Gwinnett cohort and all that comes along with that Gwinnett cohort. So we have instructors who are from Gwinnett. We have courses that are on site. We hope to do that again very, very soon. Our courses are contextual in the Gwinnett environment. And another big piece for many is that there are reduced activity fees. So Georgia State has very competitive tuition already, but we actually, Georgia State Gwinnett students pay less than students would on campus because you are in the Gwinnett cohort and you're not actually coming to campus. So those are some of the strengths. And the real one, when I talk about it, I get excited about the fact of this partnership between us and Gwinnett, because Gwinnett supports us. So Michelle's on this call, this entire leadership development team, we talk regularly with that team. So we really try to make connections from your school-based site to the work that you're doing in universities, and you have mentors that will support you with that work. Dr. Rumbaugh, what would you like to add about the Tier 1?
No, I think that's great. I think that cohort piece is really important, and I can't underplay or overstate having Dr. Farmer and Dr. Walker teach courses. You know, it's not very often you get a chance to learn from, be in an environment with you know, people in your central office in leadership development. So that's a real nice thing with this cohort. I think folks really enjoy that. So no, that's about it with the Tier 1. I'll just see if anybody has any more specific questions about it.
Okay, Michelle, could we go ahead and flip to the Tier 2? I'm going to be a little bit more brief with the overview of our other programs because I don't think as many are interested in these programs yet, but it is important to start thinking about these, because as you're entering that Tier 1, you want to think sort of long term. So you want to move from that AP position to a principal. your licensure changes. So again, the tier 2 allows you to be a principal. Some students go the specialist route, the EDS, and that allows you to get your certification. Non-degree students would be students who already have an EDS or a doctorate degree. Our program is a performance-based program. There's a focus on inclusive leadership. And this is a really nice feature. Many of those courses, if you take the EDS and decide later I want to get my EDD, many of those courses transfer into our EDD program. And with that, we can move to our EDD program. Our EDD program is a 3-year program. And that graduation rate that you see there, 87% rate, is unheard of for a doctoral program. And although I'm proud of that, I may be even more proud of the quality of the work that our students do. It's really, really impressive, the work that they do with their dissertations, the studies that they implement. And we're awful proud of our EDD students. One of them, Michelle Farmer, is on the call today. That's a hybrid program that typically meets 4 days a semester on Saturdays. And the last program I'll talk about is our PhD, and that program was just relaunched. That program's a little bit longer. It's a 4.5-year program. What makes it a little bit different there are different strands. There's a leadership and administration strand, there's a policy strand, and there's an urban education strand. You also have a little bit more flexibility in some of the selection of your courses in that program. So that is a brief overview of Georgia State University. Just a little bit about our department. So we are part of the Educational Policy Studies Department. There are 8 faculty members in ed leadership, and we have 2 centers that do a lot of work with schools. We have the Principal Center that works with leaders across the state of Georgia, and we now also host the Urban School Leadership Center, which is really, really an important thing where we're focused on the practitioner piece of leading urban schools, but also the scholarship, so research around that important topic. With that, I will open the floor to questions. And we have about 6 minutes remaining, I believe.
My question is for summer school, how many weeks is it for tier 1?
I believe it's 7 weeks. Dr. Rumbaugh, is that correct? I would have to double check. Mark, I can. I'll have those exact dates for you here in a second as well.
Yeah. And just FYI, if you're thinking about summer, the application deadline is April 15th, but really, if you just get the application started by then, you're kind of considered, and you don't have to totally necessarily finish your application by the 15th, but you can get it started and you'll be in the queue. And I think I mentioned before, I do the admitting, so it's pretty quick. Constantly I'm admitting, so you don't have to wait a long time to find out. Also, I would be your advisor, so I have office hours, so we can talk at any point. But I'll put my email in the chat in just a second so that you can contact me if you have any questions about Tier 1.
And that schedule is, the classes run from June 7 to July 31, but that last week there are no classes. It's considered the finals week. Other questions?
Hello, it's me again. So I asked this question, the last one. I'm gonna step ahead and ask the question because credit. So when it comes to, because I know this is not, when you do tier 1, there's no financial aid. So the cost per credit. So,
by the way, Stacy, actually Georgia State, I think it's one of the only ones, we just got certification through Nick, what am I trying to say?
So this gets a little confusing. So in universities, there are programs that become certification programs at the university. That doesn't have anything to do with the state, but because that exists, you are going to have access to more financial aid because of that.
Right. So that has changed for us, Stacy.
So previously, it's a federal government rule that programs that are non-degree programs, students couldn't get that financial aid, or it was really tricky the way that it worked. So we think this will certainly be a benefit for students.
Thank you. Like, geez, Georgia State just went to the top of the list. I'm just thank you for that.
It's unfortunate. I've been frustrated for many years that students don't get financial aid for this, and that's a lot of money out of pocket each semester. So we think this is really going to help students.
Stacy, just full disclosure, I think that might start in fall semester. So if you're thinking summer, it may be fall before that begins. Okay, because we just had it okayed.
Thank you.
We have about 1 or 2 minutes before this session is ended. Are there any final questions for us? Dr. Rumbaugh and I put our emails in the chat, so feel free to email us directly as well.
I know you mentioned the EDS courses, some of them would transfer to EDD. Would any of the tier 1 just add-on certification courses transfer into any of the?
So they wouldn't, because those are they're considered 2 different levels. So because they are, for example, we have a course in instructional leadership at both, but the requirement is that the instructional leadership at the tier 2 would be a more advanced course. And so when we design the courses, there's got to be that difference between the tier 1, the master's level, and the EDS level. But the EDS and the EDD can have the same courses and they can interchange, but not from the tier 1 to the tier 2 level. It's a good question.
You're also looking at it from, for instance, that instructional leadership course, you're looking at it in tier 1 from kind of just the broad issues involving instructional leadership. When you get to tier 2, you're really getting narrow and specific around the principalship or supervision of principals in schools and instructional leadership. So the focus changes too.
I have one more question. Do y'all have like an accelerated program for tier 1?
Are you looking for the full masters or just the do you have a master's already?
The full masters.
So I thought they were crazy. A few students have done it. So it's a 6-semester program, but we've had a few students do it. It was 4 semesters, I believe, Dr. Rumbaugh, is that correct?
Yeah, and that's something that the 2 of us can talk about. It's very challenging to do, but you and I can chat because we don't want to set you up for failure, but some folks can do it. So yes, we don't publicize it a lot because it's really hard to do and have a full-time job, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, I just wanted, all of my options, covered. That's all.
Yep. So you could do it in 4 semesters, 5 rather than 6. Yep.
Thanks everyone for joining us for this session. We really are excited for our next cohort from Gwinnett. So feel free to reach out with any questions, and we look forward to seeing many of your names in our applicant pool. So thanks again for this, and I enjoy your next session.
Yeah, we wish you well on your leadership journey. It's important.